the complete Big Lion Timeline. Hello, I am Suzanne Barfield. I will be taking you on this long and treacherous journey that is the complete Big Lion Timeline. Before I begin, I have to provide some very important context. The Big Lion Timeline is very strange, and each iteration introduces a new piece of lore. When I am discussing that piece of lore, whichever Big Lion project that lore was introduced in, it will be shown in the corner of the screen. Like this. There is a lot to cover in the timeline that takes place before any of the Big Lion projects. To begin, we have the very start. In the beginning, there were the three gods, Mio, Suo, and Leo. Each of the gods possessed a crystal that, when combined, would grant its user one wish. Due to an unknown dispute, the three gods got into an argument which got so heated that it split the entire universe into three main dimensions. One dimension for each one of the gods to rule over. Sometime after this event, the Time Police were created in our main dimension. The Time Police were created to protect this dimension from any time criminals. At this point in the timeline, we are on Earth, and we actually do have years. In the year 2000 BCE, humans first discovered magic, and the first magic users appeared. Not long after this, the Society of Wizards were created, and to oppose the Society of Wizards were the Society of Magicians. Using the power of magic, the wizards sealed away the Dragon of Doom in what is now modern-day Dragon Temple City. We will get back to this later. Many centuries later, the magicians and wizards would go to war in 1818. This would be known as the First Magic War. This war, however, ended in 1823 with the founding of the Magic Council, a council so that wizards and magicians would have equal power. This is where we get into the first actual project that is in a video in the timeline, which is the rise and fall of AJ the Wizard. On the same day that the Magic Council was founded, a mysterious wizard from the future came back and warned of a dark future. In order to prevent this future, he created AJ the Wizard, a child which would later become a very powerful wizard. Within AJ's adolescence, nothing of importance much happened. In fact, we can skip ahead to the next 100 years. In 1920, AJ was elected as the head of the Magic Council. But rather than trying to prevent this dark future, he instead initiated it. AJ's goal was inevitably to split the peace between the wizards and magicians and give the wizards full and complete power over the magicians. Within just 3 years in 1923, this would cause a great war between the wizards and the magicians, which would be known as the Second Great Magic War. The beginning of the Magic War would also mark the first appearance of a new magician known as Egmer. Egmer would lead the magicians through this long and excruciating 10 years of war, where Egmer kills AJ in 1933. With the Magic War ended and AJ dead, wizards and magicians would hopefully live on for the next couple of years in peace. Soon after the end of the Second Great Magic War in 1933, Magic Ernest and Sigum were born in 1939. Magic and Sigum were twins. However, before they could even remember, the magicians took Sigum to become one of them. And Magic was raised to hate all magic users because of this event. From this point forward, I'll just be calling Magic Ernest, so, it's not confusing. In 1949, At just 10 years old, despite his father's wishes, Ernest gains a huge interest for magic users and wishes to become a wizard himself. He finds a teacher and learns all there is to know about magic. Within the year, Sigum comes back and tries to recruit Ernest and use dark magic. But Ernest disagrees and escapes. While in a rage, Sigum causes an explosion using all of his magic to be sent into the far, far future. And we will get back to that later. In 1967, Gary and George Gallo are born. These characters will be important later on. And in 1973, Jim is born and adopted by a rich guy. This rich guy is actually working for a super secret science group who works and tests on snails to discover time travel. In 1983, this rich guy is killed by a lion, and Jim witnesses it. This sends Jim down a goal to wipe out every last lion in existence. Back to the Gallo family, in 1985, David Gallo is born. David Gallo is Gary Gallo's son. However, the same year, David's mother is killed for unknown reasons. Another event that happened this year to that family is George went missing and was declared dead. These events happening so soon would cause Gary Gallo to go down a rabbit hole to discover the Dragon of Doom so that he can get the wish and ask for his wife and brother back. We are almost to Big Line 1, but in 2009, both Mono and Big Line are born at the exact same time. Mono was born in the dimension ruled over by Suo, and Big Line was born in the dimension ruled over by Leo. Big Line, however, was taken from his home and plopped into Suo's dimension, where he meets Mono. In 2021, Mono and Big Line meet for the first time. Big Line guides Mono home and they become best friends. During this wacky adventure, Big Line and Mono end up on a mysterious alien planet where a mysterious alien black goo ends up on Big Lion. This will come back later. Anyways, on this adventure, Mono is kidnapped by a werewolf, and Big Lion is hella depressed about this, so he takes his own life. Mono, however, survived and came back to see Big Lion's corpse on the ground on the bottom of a cliff. Mono, with the help of Magic Ernest, travels back in time to stop Big Lion from ever doing this. Big Lion takes Mono home and they say their goodbyes. While Big Lion is sad and lonely and walking around the place, he notices that the infection from the black goo is getting worse and taking over his entire body. This causes him to become evil. He opens up a portal to another timeline, timeline 69420. Evil Big Lion spreads the virus, which becomes a zombie virus, and eventually turns the entire Earth of that timeline into a zombie-filled planet. Back in the original timeline, Mono is arrested by the Time Police for messing up timeline 69420. But of course, we know that is actually not Mono's fault. Anyways, let's go on. Mono is put on trial for Big Lion's crimes. However, luckily for Mono, Big Lion is found guilty. The Time Police send a whole army to fight Big Lion, but this was not enough. Big Lion destroyed all of them. Big Lion even got onto the Time Police ship and wiped out every Time Police ever. This gave Mono a chance to escape to a local timeline, where she was followed by Agent 301 of the Time Police Agency, who actually defended her in court. Together, Mono and Agent 301 would actually take the virus out of Big Lion. This virus becomes a giant gooey monster. Big Lion, Mono, and Agent 301 all work together to defeat this giant monster. Mono, Agent 301, and Big Lion all form the new Time Police in place of the old one. (2022) Jim discovers his father's work, and he uses the snails to gather the gods' crystals so that he can wish the lions out of existence, so he can get revenge for the death of his father. The new Time Police discover this and go after Jim. At some point during this journey, Leo, the lion god, gives Big Lion a vision, and he tells Big Lion that the only way to defeat Jim is to gather the crystals before he does. Leo gives Big Lion the first crystal, his crystal, so that he can travel dimensions and gather the rest. Using the crystal, they go to Suo's castle, and they ask for Suo's gem. Suo gives it to them after the Time Police complete a mission. Using the 2 gems, they now have the power to cross dimensions into Mio's dimension. They find Mio, but it is too late. Jim has already taken Mio's crystal. Mio tells the new Time Police that Jim is already in Leo's dimension, causing chaos. The new Time Police travel to Leo's dimension, where they find out that Big Lion is from this dimension. And Big Lion has a younger brother named Little Lion. Little Lion teams up with the new Time Police to defeat Jim. But it is too late. Jim is already there, attacking Leo. They have a fight, but Jim succeeds and gets the crystals. And Jim wishes for the extinction of all lions, including Little Lion and Big Lion, and even Leo. However, Mono and Suzy are still there, and they fight Jim. They gather the crystals and wish for all of the lions to return. Big Lion uses his powers to shrink objects, to shrink Jim, and capture him in a jar. However, Jim had already attacked Leo beyond repair. Leo, knowing that this dimension needed a god, offered Big Lion a job as the new lion god. Big Lion declined and actually gave the role to Little Lion, making Little Lion the new god of this dimension. In December of that same year, Sigum returns. When he sent himself to the future, this is where he sent himself. Despite not having his powers, he still finds ways to cause crime and chaos in this new time. The new Time Police catch on and try to capture Sigum. In order to learn more about Sigum, they go to the Magic Council and find out that Sigum used to be one of the members of the Magic Council as a magician. The Magic Council tells the new Time Police that the only way to defeat Sigum is to travel back in time and get Magic Ernest. The Time Police do just that. While the new Time Police is in the past with Magic Ernest, Sigum is in the present preparing something. Sigum finds a scientist known as Toast Tiger, whose parents worked at the exact same facility that Jim's parents did. That's not important really, it's just neat. Anyways, Sigum kidnaps Toast Tiger and forces her to make a machine that will transfer the magic abilities from one being to another. Back in 1949, Mono, Big Lion, Suzy, and Magic Ernest travel back to the present and stop Jim. But as soon as they do, Sigum kidnaps Big Lion. Sigum drains Big Lion's powers and gives it all to him. Mono, Suzy, and Magic Ernest catch up with Big Lion and Sigum and defeat Sigum. But Big Lion still does not have his powers. After this, Suzy leaves the Time Police and joins the Magic Council to become a powerful wizard. At this point, we've actually reached the current era of Big Lion. Since Mono and Big Lion don't have experience being time police, and now that Susie is gone, they find it very difficult to get any business. In order to gain attention, Big Lion and Mono make a commercial. After making that commercial, they get a mysterious phone call telling them to meet them at a very specific location. Once they meet the caller identifies himself as Mina Munson. Mina tells Mono and Big Lion about the Dragon of Doom, a dragon that can grant a wish to the one who wakes him up. Mina also gives them a map to find this dragon. Meanwhile, Gary and David are talking about finding this dragon. David doesn't really take this whole dragon thing seriously, and as David is walking out and on his way home, he gets kidnapped. He is taken to a mysterious room where a mysterious hooded figure tells him to stay away from the Dragon of Doom. David quickly runs back and tells Gary about this. However, Gary is not convinced, and he still wishes to wake up the dragon so that he can wish for his wife and brother back. Gary and David take a plane to Dragon Temple City, but the hooded figure follows them. At this exact moment, Big Lion and Mono are also on their way to Dragon Temple City. They get kidnapped by pirates, they meet a cool parrot named Perry, and Perry is reunited with his family. At which point, Mono and Big Lion make it to Dragon Temple City. David and Gary also make it to Dragon Temple City, however, they cannot find the Dragon Temple. They get lost and spend the whole day looking for Dragon Temple. They go to a hotel, and at this hotel, the hooded figure comes to them and reveals himself as George Gallo. He explains that he doesn't want Gary to wake up the dragon because he doesn't want to hurt the dragon. Gary explains that no, of course they won't hurt the dragon. George believes them and helps them find the dragon, where they meet up with Mono and Big Lion. They wake up the dragon, but before one of them could make a wish, Mina Munson comes out and interrupts them. Mina, the whole time, wanted to take the wish for his own. So he wishes for the destruction of all life on Earth. But luckily, before this could happen, Mono and Big Lion defeat Mina Munson, which frees the Dragon of Doom. Because Mono freed the dragon gives Mono one wish, and Mono wishes for Big Lion's powers back, and they all go home. As it reaches October, Mono and Big Lion want to celebrate Halloween. They call up Susie and Little Lion, and they all sit around the campfire telling spooky stories. And after this, Susie and Little Lion go back to where they were before. Quick thank you to anyone who stuck around and watched the whole video, because this video has been quite fun to work on. It is also very fun working on Big Lion with Mono. While I made this timeline, you should also just watch Big Lion, because they are very entertaining and funny. Era 3 will actually conclude next month on December 3rd with the release of Big Lion 3. I will play the teaser trailer now.
Hi, Glimbo. Hi, Glimbo. Hi, Glimbo.